Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center and I'm delighted to be joined with Jonathan and Daniel with their movie Oasis. Let's take a look at the clip.
Imani loved this one.
I don't know how to tell you this, but
it's important for us to keep it on everybody's mind that we have to remember again from whence we came.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Jonathan flew from New York City to be here, so grateful to have you here. And Daniel, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
With your second film.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate being here.
Honestly, well, you know, the film last night was just magnificent. The audience reaction was phenomenal. For those that haven't seen your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
Oasis follows the story of Robin Walker, who is an English school teacher in the Las Vegas community, who was fired from her job because of her, desire to teach Black literature. And in this story, we exhibit her, going through certain trials and tribulations, ultimately to find a new hope and reality in this local bookstore, which is our little message of, figuring out the new places that we can, find this information and this knowledge during, these really turbulent and just, tricky times that we're in right now.
I'm so happy you made this story. This story, I mean, it's been resonate for decades, centuries, etc. But it's ironic that, as Julian, who was at your festival last night, was alluding to, this was, you kind of almost predicted something we didn't want to get to in a space where we are in 2025, and the irony is here we are in 2025, and it's become even another level up of what we never expected. So just thank you for bringing this story. And so Jonathan, how did you get involved with Daniel, and how did you combine together to make this story happen?
The whole gist of it is, it was the NAACP. They have this program that they do every summer called the NAACP Cinematic Shorts Competition, and they select 6 filmmakers across the entire country, and then they pair you up with one person. So we had this really beautiful collaboration that was able to start together, and we went out to Vegas last summer, worked on a film, wrote it over like a span of 2 weeks, got to Vegas, shot it over 3 days, and then edited for maybe another 2-3 days, and then had to have a screening directly at the end of it. So that is pretty much our genesis and how all this kind of works for the two of us here.
Yo.
I mean, I'm glad you found each other. I'm glad they paired you up, because you made beautiful work. Daniel, you always make very impactful stories, and this one was another impactful story that you've put together. How was this experience like for you? Because I mean, you had obviously fantastic actors, a really very well written story, an important one to articulate. What was this experience like for you?
It was such a beautiful experience, and I think it feels like one full of continuity. A lot of the relationships and ideas and things that poured into this film are from so much of the work that John and I have been living and doing for years. And then to find the intersection of our interests and our passions and what was kind of knocking at our door at the time, and to see that we both had such a deep reverence for preservation of Black history, our stories, third spaces that hold history outside of some of the larger systems. It was just really extremely beautiful. And when we were under that restriction where, we had 3 days to shoot, 2 weeks to write the script, and just a few days to edit, we really just called on community. So it was a lot of Hillary Jones, who plays Robin so beautifully.
Amazing.
I trained in acting school with her. I've always wanted to work with her. So I just called her up and said, hey, I know you're in DC. Would you be down to come to Vegas for a few days and make this project? Cordelia, who is in the film as Miss Jean, is actually her grandmother.
What?
So a lot of the elements came together through relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a testament to how blessed we are to have such a wonderful community. And also that in so many ways, filmmaking can sometimes feel daunting, but you actually always have what you need all around you if you just open your eyes to it.
Absolutely.
And if I could piggyback off of that, I think something that has been a beautiful revelation over the past few months of just working on this entire thing is, you know, the filmmaking process is very much so a thing of like, you know, my 3 F's: faith, favor, and a whole lot of friends. And utilizing these things at all times really just ultimately bring together whatever it is that you're thinking about, because you have to lean on people to be able to do this, especially at this level right now. And, you know, being able to kind of just stay rooted and grounded, that, you know, it allows you to do some really beautiful things, and you just got to let it happen.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this it was so well written, because it was almost like you could it was almost documentary, because this is actually what is going on, you know, in many spaces, in many different fields of work, and it's devastating. It's really absolutely devastating, and it's literally so wrong on so many different levels. What was it like for you both, kind of making a film like this, and, you know, having obviously people in front and behind camera that can truly relate to the story, and then just kind of seeing the uncovering of like things kind of taking another level of worse. Like, I mean, it just made your film even more impactful of where we are today, for this film to be seen across the country, across the world, because this is what's happening in our history today still.
The increase of misinformation that's happening is very disturbing. But again, I think about continuity in that we've been through these things before. I think what was happening was John and I felt this possibility and wanted to document the time so that we could have a human experience to relate to, so that we can understand that some of these policies that restrict education and restrict the teaching of Black history and restrict the preservation of our knowledge, these are real human beings every day. This is, you know, you see about it in articles along another million things, because there are so many things to focus on. But what's really powerful is that film can get you into the eyes of people who you may not know about. And so it was shocking to witness that the film seems to have more relevance now than it did when we made it. But I think that's just a sign of the synchronicity of our collective work and responsibility. And it feels like that's the space where some of this process may just be a little bit bigger than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think likewise, it's like, you know, I feel like we were almost telegraphing, you know, what we knew was gonna take place. You know, just like kind of like getting like the temperature of the time and seeing, okay, what is the possibility of what will happen in the next few months, you know, if things are to take a very dark and grim turn. You know, I think the unfortunate thing is, like, we're existing and we're living in it right now, and, you know, we're seeing the results of, you know, just this reduction in really just such a short amount of time. But, you know, I think it was, one, immersing ourselves in this entire Las Vegas community, you know, doing all this research and finding, you know, these really beautiful women and just people in this entire neighborhood that have been championing, you know, Black education for so much of their, you know, careers in education. And, you know, it was finding, you know, Miss Robin Walker, you know, it was finding, you know, the people of the multicultural bookstore in the Las Vegas community that really just, you know, opened up so many opportunities for us to, one, connect with that entire community, and just, again, ground everything and just like the very real and lived experiences of, you know, people that are actively fighting and doing this work right now. So for us to now move forward into this current period and, you know, see, you know, how DEI has now become such a buzzword and how it's really just creating this great chasm for people to really just like engage in knowledge and information. You know, that is something that I think we were just thinking about and just wanted to be very intentional about how we were going to depict that on the screen.
Yeah, and you both did that and are doing that, and, you know, and I think a lot of that is you've got this very kind, caring, collective, conscious group of people, filmmakers, storytellers, and you're making very, you know, impactful and important stories that really that stem from the heart, but also stem to do so much to teach and to educate as well as entertain. What have you learned mostly from this, either from a sort of production standpoint or the experience? What has this experience been like for you, Jonathan?
There's a lot of lessons, a lot of lessons. You know, one thing, always work with the DIT early to understand how much you're shooting on, and what like that entire post-production process was absolutely maddening. But, you know, I think the big thing is, as I've learned over my years of working in just different projects, is really having just a real good sense of flexibility. You know, I think that there were so many like twists and turns. You know, we're writing this project in just, you know, 2 short weeks, Daniel and I. You know, we're going back and forth trying to figure out, all right, what is the root of this story? You know, having conversations with our executive producers and our other producing team to figure out how we're going to go and put this together. But again, it was just like another reaffirming lesson of just like a need to be flexible and being able to figure out how to operate and move. And then beyond that, it was just, again, just really being intentional the entire time about what is our story, what is our voice that, you know, we share and that we're thinking of, and never wavering from that. You know, it's like, I think it's a very easy thing sometimes to, you know, allow certain ideas to get shaken up. But, you know, I think what we were very steadfast on was, you know, let us lean into telling a very nuanced and maybe a little bit more of a layered, you know, approach towards this person that we're looking to exhibit. And not to make her feel too flat. You know, that's why we see her, you know, existing as like as a teacher, but also as a mother, you know, as someone who is actively trying to go and, you know, take up this fight as well, because that's very much so what happens in the world. You know, I think one of the big inspirations was, you know, one of my teachers when I was in high school, her name is Dina Sellers, who currently works somewhere out in, not Vegas, but in Phoenix right now at Brophy Prep, if I'm wondering, right? But again, it was like, you know, I'm thinking of her so actively as we're looking at, you know, Hillary Jones was playing, you know, Robin in this project. And, you know, being able to do that was incredible.
Thanking our teachers and remembering the people that helped us in our education on the way. I always remember those amazing teachers. I love that you mentioned her and then developed this character for us all to experience as well. And Daniel, I mean, the last film you brought us was in Hawaii, and then now we're in Vegas. So, you know, I heard it was a hot production experience for you, right?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, in comparison, it's obviously part of this amazing program where you found each other. What, in self-reflection for you as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, as in production, how has the experience been for you?
It's been such an incredible journey on this one. And I think that it really anchors my practice in form, in aesthetic, in intention, and it reminds me of what I feel I have to give and to just stay open as a student all the time too. In both films, in Huli and Oasis, I had a mixture of actors and non-actors working together. And, you know, you see that really working in some projects like Sing Sing and like Honora and, you know, there's just so many things that can come out of that specific dynamic from an acting side that I really have great interest in continuing to explore. So, but it was really just a testament to community, a testament to, you know, the power of doing as much as you can with very little, and also trusting in collaboration. I think co-writing and co-directing really scares a lot of people. And it should be scary because it's a very intimate process, and it's very, you know, you have to kind of be like water sometimes when you're finding that dynamic. But I do think it's just a blessing when you find the right like person, right? And so I just, that was another thing. I think my mind was open on this project about the potential for collective filmmaking, for collaborative filmmaking, because we are used to a hierarchical structure as norm. But what I found as a co-writer and a co-director is that I felt like both of our strengths and our superpowers were able to come to the forefront and pour into the work and create something that sizzled in a way that if it was just me or if it was just John, it would be a really different movie. So I just think that it's been beautiful to watch that work.
Goodness, you two are so poetic. I love it. Like it shows in your writing as well. Like it really is. Every time I'm like, fuck, I've just been in a TED talk. It's beautiful. You know, and it really, your writing was that you created was exceptional, and it was just everything we needed to hear in this conversation that we need to hear.
Thank you. That was
amazing. Like, and it's not easy co-writing. So, you know, but you found each other. There was a reason you got put together. I hope you know that, right? There was a reason that it happened, you know? Well, apart from hopefully now you're going to start working together still, but what's next for you both together and individually?
Currently, I'm a graduate student at NYU Tisch, so I'm getting
You
my
are there?
master's.
How's it going?
It's good. You know
Yeah?
what I mean? It's a really dope program. It's, you know, get to meet a lot of beautiful people, great lessons that I'm learning. But, you know, right now I'm actually in the process, post-production for my recent short that I just made in my second year of my school program.
Amazing.
The story is called Refuge. It's a story about a young boy, young Caribbean man who returns home from the holidays. And on this day that I'm exhibiting him, you know, he goes out after an argument breaks out between his parents. And while he's out in the streets of New York, comes into encounters with strangers and, you know, people from his past, which ultimately lead us on this journey of, you know, him really just grappling and dealing with, you know, the loss of his grandmother that he experienced when he was younger. So I'm excited, you know, we have some really cool animation elements and, you know, really kind of telling this very storybook kind of feeling, but also just depicting this, you know, the young black man and a little bit more of his softness and, you know, trying to create counter images that are, you know, just showing, you know, a little bit of the nuance that, you know, boys like me, you know, boys that I grew up with that, you know, were experiencing. So that is, you know, primary. And then other little small things coming up, little commercial things, and then, you know, trying to get into the space of a documentary that I'm about to work on for possibly my thesis work. And then, you know, again, thinking about features and TV shows, but you know, that's like in formulation.
And yes, and you do this on your student as well. I think you've been doing this 30 years, Jonathan. It's amazing, you know. But well, please submit that film to us. We want to bring you back. So
Absolutely.
you know, absolutely. But well done, then. Well done.
Thank you.
How about for you, Daniel?
I'm working on a few different projects. I'm on a TV series called The Oval on BET, which is, it's been airing on BET, so we're going all year on Tuesday nights. So that's been great.
Was it to tell the camera where can we watch it, Daniel?
You can watch The Oval on BET. You can also watch it on Hulu or Paramount Plus. So, so I'm on that series. And then I'm also doing a new short film project in Hawaii this year that I'm really excited about. That kind of looks at, you know, a 5 minutes in the future possibility where we're talking about land and preservation and just connection to each other and community and how we move if things change really rapidly. I'm producing a film next week in New York by an amazing writer-director named Croix. And that's something I'm really excited about. And I'm just continuing to develop, you know, a lot of other film projects too. So I'm just staying busy and staying creative.
And I'm glad you're doing another film, Love Letter to Hawaii, because you did a great job the first film you made. So, well, listen, thank you both so much. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Daniel. Nice to have you all here. Welcome to the family, and thank you for bringing Oasis. And big thank you to all of your cast and crew that made it happen as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Oasis.